men are emotionally, psychologically, spiritually trapped, with their narcissistic mother. uh, to be loyal to their wives, feels like betrayal to their mother. That's how twisted things are. I mean, a mother is a mother, a wife is a wife. You can be loyal to both. Yeah, I mean, no comparison. Hey everyone, I hope everyone is doing good and taking good care of themselves. And welcome back to Unmasking Narcissism with Sarah Khan. And today we are going to, dive deep into a topic that doesn't get enough attention. And the topic is the invisible wounds and lifelong struggles faced by sons of narcissistic mothers. So these men, they often grow up trapped in a silent war between loyalty and selfhood. They appear functional, holding jobs, starting family, being providers, but internally they are fractured, stuck in trauma loops. And they are into sabotaging their peace, their relationship, even their sexual identity. Yeah, so in today's video, we are going to unmask, these subtle, destructive, imprints that, this maternal narcissism leaves behind on these children, sons who are raised by narcissistic mothers across various, realms, whether it's personal front, professional front, emotional or sexual. Yeah. So let us, first understand how, these kids, they suffer, these sons suffer in their personal life. Yeah. And, their personal life is literally, like a curse of emotional disconnection. So these sons of narcissistic mothers are taught early on that their feelings are dangerous and their needs are a burden. So keep your mouth shut. So what happens then? They disconnect, from themselves and become emotionally unavailable. Not because they lack capacity, but because intimacy feels threatening. Yeah, and they have been trained and groomed to keep their mouth shut, or else shit happens. These guys, they may love their partners, but they will, withhold emotional support. Yeah, they are going to ghost during conflict and they are going to disappear, into silence or rage. These folks, they do marry like normal individuals, they do have sex, they do raise children, and they do all of this, while refusing to truly see or emotionally support their spouse. And that's horrible because, they are unable to connect with their spouse, their wife, their partner. Yeah, because they have been trained and groomed by their narcissistic mother that their feelings are dangerous and their needs are a burden. So let me keep my mouth shut, let me not show and express, and let me just be a zombie. Let me just do the things for the sake of doing. Yeah. And honestly speaking, this isn't, a kind of a personality trait. I personally feel it is a trauma. Yeah. And if you're familiar with Dr. Janice Webb's work in Running on Empty, Dr. Webb explains how emotional neglect, especially from a parent, leads to lifelong inability to identify or express emotions, even in the adulthood. Yeah. So, I mean, it does impact these guys, they do suffer because of the way how they were raised and they were made to believe by their narcissistic mothers. Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing we discussed was the personal life. He's so enmeshed with her that he's absent for his wife and children. The other aspect where, his upbringing impacts, influences, and affects is the professional life. Yeah. So in professional life, this guy is an overachiever and someone who's always, addicted to approval or seeking approval. So in the workplace, these men often become, overachievers or chronic underachievers. Yeah, it's not always overachievers. They often become underachievers also. So those who excel do so not from joy, but from a desperate drive to earn validation. Yeah, it's not because I feel good, I'll experience joy. No, it's, from a desperate drive and need to earn validation. Yeah, and that's the reason, they overachieve. These folks, men who are raised by narcissistic mothers, they replay these same survival patterns. If I achieve enough, maybe I'll finally be enough. Yeah, but that's not how things are. Yeah, and on the other side, on the flip side, others sabotage their careers. Why? Because they fear success will separate them from their narcissistic mother. Yeah, so either they become overachiever or they become underachiever. Yeah, and others come and fuck their life in their professional front. Yeah, because these guys are scared of speaking up, these guys are scared of fighting for themselves or standing up for themselves. Yeah, and you know they do this because they feel that my success might separate me from my narcissistic mother, and that will be an act of betrayal, and I don't want her to experience that. Yeah, so let me underperform, let me not give my best, let me just be a mediocre, let me not fight, stand up for myself or showcase my talent, let me not do all of that. Because if I showcase, if I'm seen and heard, and if I become successful, it is going to hurt my mother. It's going to separate me from my narcissistic mother. Yeah. And again, I mean, if you are familiar with Pia Melody's work on codependency, she details how early enmeshment results in adult, you know, either over functioning or collapsing under pressure. So these folks, they do have this problem at workplace. Either they will be over functioning, overachieving, or they will be underachiever and collapsing under pressure. Yeah, so it's not just in the family. In every front, these guys suffer who are raised by narcissistic mothers. The other front where these guys suffer is habits and addictions. Yeah, and the habit and addictions are ways they cope with emptiness, these sons. So these sons often develop soothing addiction: porn, gaming, alcohol, weed, gambling, obsessive fitness, shopping. They get into a lot of addiction, and all of it is to soothe them. Yeah, because they are self-regulating in a way in the absence of true emotional safety. So when you try and self regulate in a space that is not emotionally safe, you get into all these things. Yeah, you get into all these addictions. Yeah, this is your way of self regulating, but of course it's not a healthy way. But this is your way when you are experiencing or having absence of emotional safety. You don't have a emotional safe space, so how would you regulate? You get into all these things. Yeah, and you lose money, you lose your health, you lose your mental peace, well-being, you do lose a lot of things. Yeah, you need to understand that these habits aren't random. They are attempts to numb the inner void. Yeah, and to silence the voice that says you are never enough. That chatter, narcissistic mother, that's how she keeps you on hook, that's how she keeps you on leash. yeah, by indirectly telling you, I wish if you would have done better. I wish you could have done better. I don't know if I'll ever see. I mean, you hardly care. You know how things are. So, these folks, they get into, all these, addiction. And this is purely to self regulate. Yeah. This is their way of self regulating in the absence of emotional safe space. Yeah, they don't have that, so they get into all these things: porn, gambling, alcohol, weed, smoking, obsessive fitness, shopping, eating crap, eating too much. They get into all of these things. And again, I mean, if you're familiar with Dr. Gabor Mate's work on addiction, you know he says that addiction is not about pleasure seeking, it's about pain relief. Yeah, and I mean, I agree to that. These guys are not, deriving any pleasure by getting into these things. All what they are doing is to numb, to soothe, to get rid of that pain. Yeah, a kind of a painkiller. These addiction and these habits are like painkiller for them. That pain that they have on the inside, that voice. Yeah, you're never enough. You are never good enough. You need to do more. You could have done better. Yeah, to silence all those voice and chatter and manipulation and bad thing. They get into these things. Yeah, they lose money, they lose their health, they suffer. I mean, suffering never really ends, till the time you are with your narcissistic mother, or till the time you are around them or they are around you. It never really ends. And in some of the cases I have seen, even when they are gone or long gone, these narcissistic mothers, the sons, they keep suffering, they keep hurting themselves, they keep hurting their partner, they keep doing all sorts of things, you know, to recreate their childhood. Yeah, because they're so used to, and they feel that that's the only way. So they keep doing the same thing again and again and again. And all of it is to make themselves feel home. Yeah, this is what my mother used to do. This is how things were at home. This is how she used to behave. Yeah, so he's just busy in recreating his childhood, even though it was toxic, choking, dysfunctional, but he's addicted to it. So he's trying to recreate in his relationship, in his separate family, chosen family, whatever family he has started. He wants to bring that baggage from the past into the present. Yeah, because it makes him feel home. Yeah, he feels guilty if he will not carry that legacy, if he will not carry on all of that crap. He's betraying his family, especially the narcissistic mother. The other area where these sons suffer because of their narcissistic mother is, their relationship. So these sons, they are never happy or 100%, in relationship with their partner. These sons, they are big time into dehumanizing their partner, and here are some of the most heartbreaking truth. So the sons of narcissistic mothers often recreate the very abuse they survived. Yeah, they may dehumanize their partner, especially wives or girlfriend. They emotionally stonewall them, they shame their emotional needs, they compare them with their mothers negatively or idealized, they dismiss their struggles, they punish them for having boundaries, they cheat not out of desire but out of emotional revenge. Yeah, so he may still marry her, have sex with her, have children with her, start a family, but he will never truly stand with her. Yeah, because standing with her would mean betraying the woman he was trauma bonded to. Yeah, his narcissistic mother. These men are emotionally, psychologically, spiritually trapped with their narcissistic mother. uh, to be loyal to their wives, you know feels like betrayal to their mother. That's how twisted things are. I mean, a mother is a mother, a wife is a wife. You can be loyal to both. Yeah, I mean, no comparison. But in narcissistic family, this bitch, the narcissistic mother, positions herself as the queen, as the top priority. My husband has to prioritize me, my son has to prioritize me, everybody has to prioritize me. If you prioritize your other half, your sibling, your other XYZ, you are betraying me. I sacrifice so much. You're betraying my love, you're betraying the sacrifices I made for you. So, they have their own way to guilt trip their children, their spouse, and trust me, you know, being exposed to these kind of guilt trips, since childhood literally ruins, these guys' life. I mean, these sons who are raised by narcissistic mothers, they suffer. They suffer in their personal life, professional life. And Dr. Susan Forward, in mothers who can't love, notes how narcissistic mothers creates sons who feel obligated to abandon their emotional truth, their own emotional need, to maintain maternal approval. Yeah, they start you know self-sabotaging, they start ignoring their own needs, yeah, solely to maintain maternal approval. The other area where these sons suffer because of their narcissistic mother is, with their sexuality and kink. Yeah. So let us talk about, something really discussed, how trauma shapes kink and sexual identity. So many sons of narcissistic mothers struggle with shame around desire. Yeah. And, they are confused about masculinity. And often, they feel that arousal is linked to degradation or control. Yeah, I mean, it's all effed up in their head. Yeah, they feel that their sexual lives, their secret sexual lives, don't align with their authentic self. Yeah, I mean, they think sexual fantasies are a separate thing, my authentic life is separate. Yeah, they cannot be one. Yeah, whereas in reality, my authentic self can have sexual fantasies, can have you know kinks. I mean, that's absolutely normal. But these guys see both of these things as separate things. Yeah, they don't see it as a part of them. Yeah, their authentic self is different, their secret sexual life is different, their kink is different, preference is different. Yeah, and this is because of their early sexual development that was entangled with power, guilt, and emotional neglect. Some of these men, they develop hypersexuality, solely to feel powerful. Others become avoidant or asexual to protect themselves. Yeah. So these men, they have a lot of weird fantasies, they process sexuality, kink in a different way. They don't know what masculinity is. They are sometimes confused about uh, as to what arousal is. They feel that arousal is linked to degradation, control. So these guys who are raised by narcissistic mothers, in some of the cases I have seen them being bisexual, in some cases as gays also, but they are closeted, they don't talk about it, they have a lot of weird fantasies. And it's like a dual life that they live. Yeah, I mean, they like sex, but they don't like sex with their wife, they like sex with a prostitute. Yeah, these guys, because of all that conditioning and upbringing and all that manipulation, control, and guilt and emotional neglect, these guys don't get aroused the way how a normal individual does. They get aroused by weird things. Yeah, they don't get aroused by just being with you, or by being intimate with you, by touching you or kissing you or smooching you. No, they might get aroused, by hitting you, or by tying you up, or by forcing themselves on you. So their arousal is also different, not like normal individuals. Yeah, and all of it is rooted in their childhood. Some of them often develop hypersexuality. They feel that this is the way to live life. This is the way how I can survive, by being hypersexual, sleeping with random people, you know just being OTT. I mean, too much over the top. Yeah. And trauma researcher Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, in his book The Body Keeps the Score, it's an amazing book. He explores how sexual responses can become distorted in trauma survivors, especially when abuse is emotional or covert rather than physical. Yeah, I mean, I think he had given examples of these, war veterans, Vietnam War, and all of that, and how they were into, enduring traumatic event, war, death of their fellow, soldiers, and uh, then they started, getting into, raping and molesting other individuals. They started hurting other individuals and started feeling good. They started getting pleasure by hurting others, forcing themselves onto the others by raping others. So that's what he talks about, in one of the chapters in the book The Body Keeps the Score. So it's really, really damaging and complex when you're raised by a narcissistic mother. I mean, and of course today we are talking about sons, but it's with the daughters also. If you are raised by narcissistic parents, trust me, your sexuality, your sexual identity, uh, your understanding of kink, everything gets altered and changed and influenced. You are no more a normal person when you have survived your narcissistic parent, your narcissistic mother, or narcissistic father. And things change, and it reflects on different aspects of your life. The other area where these sons suffer because of their narcissistic mother is, emotional responses. I mean, the fight, fawn, and freeze. So, in any, stressful situation, personal or professional, these sons, default to survival responses are freeze when faced with intimacy, fawn when confronted by authority, fight when triggered by perceived disrespect. So their nervous system, I mean the nervous system of these sons who are raised by narcissistic mothers, you know, their nervous system is constantly dysregulated. Yeah, they're constantly reading, connection as danger. Something bad is going to happen. I need to protect myself. I need to, fight. I need to respond. I need to just shut down. I need to, if something is wrong, I need to immediately respond. So, there, that mechanism, that system, that, analyzes and makes you aware of the threat and the issues around you, that system gets effed up. Yeah, because of this hyperactive amygdala. Yeah, constant manipulation, constant unpredictable environment. So these kids, I mean sons who are raised by narcissistic mothers, they never have a normal regular childhood. Yeah, and because of that, they are very dysregulated. So the way how they respond is also different. Yeah, I mean, when you are intimate, you are going to relax. When you are in an intimate relationship, you're going to express, you're going to show love, you're going to enjoy, experience pleasure. Yeah, but these folks, when faced with intimacy, they freeze. When faced with, authority, or when confronted by authority, they get into that fawn mode. Yeah, and when they are triggered, or when they perceive, someone disrespecting them, then they start fighting. Yeah. To sum it up, their nervous system is cooked by their narcissistic mothers. And until they recognize that these aren't personality flaws but trauma responses, they will keep ruining every opportunity, for peace, love, and success. Yeah, no matter what the opportunity is, they will keep ruining it. Yeah, because they are unaware. They don't know that, this is, the trauma response, the kind of childhood they experienced, they were raised in, yeah, by their narcissistic mother. And until they recognize that, these aren't, personality flaws but trauma responses, they will keep ruining every opportunity, for peace, love, and success. They'll keep ruining it because they don't know. So again, awareness is the key. They need to understand, they need to know what they are experiencing is not a kind of a personality flaw but trauma response. Yeah, the way how they respond is purely based on the kind of trauma they endured in their childhood. So what is the way forward? How do we heal from this? I mean, every aspect is getting influenced and, dominated because of our past and, because of our childhood. So what do we do? How do we move forward in life? How do we heal? Yeah. So if you are, or if you love someone, who fits this description, here is, something that can help. First of all, this isn't your fault. Yeah. But this is your responsibility now. Yeah, it wasn't your fault. We don't get to choose our family, we don't get to choose our parent. Yeah, so the thing they put us through is not our fault, but it is our responsibility now. Yeah, you need to grieve the mother you wish you had. Yeah, grieve, mourn, and just move on. Yeah, because she will never be the version that you crave. She is dysfunctional, toxic, abusive, manipulative, and that's it. So grieve the mother, you wish you had. You need to train yourself to tolerate intimacy without fear. If someone is being intimate, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have some ulterior motive and objective. It's okay. People can be intimate. It's absolutely fine. I don't need to be scared. Yeah. I mean, intimacy can exist without fear. Yeah. And also, you need to sit down, with your own emotions without running or numbing. I mean, you need to reflect. If you have problem reflecting, start journaling, start writing, start, jotting down, whatever is going through. So you need to sit with your emotions. You just can't get into numbing and start playing video game and start doing this and start doing that, distracting and numbing and soothing. You need to sit, experience them, witness them, acknowledge them, process them, rather than running and numbing. The other thing that you can get into, in order to heal is, trauma informed therapy, which is not just talk therapy but somatic, attachment focused, shadow work, CBT, RABT, whatever helps. I mean, you can try these. I mean, talk therapy might not be that helpful. I mean, if you're experiencing, these things. And shadow work is also helpful. I mean, I have a couple of colleagues who are into shadow work, and it does work. I mean, I wouldn't say that I uh, subscribe to it, or I get into it, or I have ever experienced it. I mean, it's a process. I mean, it's a kind of a modality, but I mean, I have seen, therapists, taking help of shadow work and helping their client. Yeah, I mean, for some it might be a little controversial, but I mean, see, it's not about what others think or how others view things. It's all about you. What works for you, what helps you. That's it. Just go ahead. Yeah, go for it. In the end, I would like to tell you guys, I mean, all of you who are raised by narcissistic mothers, men, and women also, sons and daughters of narcissistic mothers, you need to understand that healing is only possible when you are ready to throw away the mask. When the mask falls, you heal. Yeah. So, I mean, keep that in mind. Healing is not easy. Healing is a dirty work where you need to shed and get rid of a lot of things, where you need to address a lot of things that you had been ignoring all this while. So, yes, healing is possible, and it's going to be difficult, but it is possible. So yes, this was it. In case if you would like to add in something, you can always comment below. Till then, take care of yourself. Lots of love and blessings to all of you. Bye.